Hello, I'm Ali. In previous video, we saw how blood supply goes from heart to the target organ and gives supply of oxygen and nutrients to this organ, which is need for their metabolic activities. And due to their metabolic activities, they originate some metabolic waste products and carbon dioxide. And this carbon dioxide is taken away from this tissue to heart by venous system. Usually, most of the time, venous system follows the arterial route. Most of the time, they also have the same name as the corresponding artery. There are some exceptions. We will discuss today the whole venous system from peripheral tissue to the heart. Let's get started. At first, larger arteries become smaller arteries. Then these smaller arteries become capillary. In this capillary level, oxygen and metabolic nutrients goes from the capillary to the tissue, and metabolic waste product and carbon dioxide goes from the tissue to the capillary. After this capillary network, they form venules, then smaller veins, then the larger veins, and ultimately these larger veins go towards the heart and drain into the right atrium of the heart. Now we'll see these things. So at first we will see how brain and the tissues around the head and neck region drain into the heart. Then we will see how the upper limb drain into the heart. Then we will see how lower limb, and afterward we will see the abdomen and upper trunk, that is chest. How this area of body drain into the heart. Most of the intracranial tissue, including brain, drain via the dural venous sinus system. So, great cerebral vein of Galen and inferior sagittal sinus together join to make a straight sinus. This straight sinus then drain to the confluence of sinuses, and superior sagittal sinus directly drain into the confluence of sinuses. From this confluence of sinuses, then this blood go to the transverse sinuses, and from transverse sinus of both sides, they go to the both sides sigmoid sinus. From the anterior area, the cavernous sinus collect blood from superior and inferior ophthalmic vein and sphenopalatine venous sinuses, and these cavernous sinuses then drain via the superior and inferior petrosal sinus to the sigmoid sinus. Here we can talk about the dangerous area of the face, that is these superior and inferior ophthalmic vein and some veins that drain into the cavernous system are valveless. This is why the infection may easily spread from the area of upper lip and around the nasolabial fold. This area drain through this superior and inferior ophthalmic and other some vein to the cavernous sinus. As they are valveless, so infection may easily spread to the cavernous sinus. This is why these areas are called dangerous area of face. The sigmoid sinus then drain into the internal jugular vein and passes through the jugular foramen. Then the internal jugular vein descends downwards. Now we come to the face and extracranial region of the head and neck. In face, the superficial temporal vein and maxillary vein join together to form retromandibular vein. Then this retromandibular vein collects the most of the veins of the face and neck region. These retromandibular veins then divide into two branches. One branch drain into the external jugular vein and another one branch join with the facial and submental vein and drain into the internal jugular vein. Then both external and internal jugular vein descend down. The external jugular vein drain into the subclavian vein and internal jugular vein joins with subclavian vein to make brachiocephalic vein. Brachiocephalic vein of left and right side join together to form superior vena cava. Now go to the upper limb. The dorsal and palmar venous network make two large veins, that is cephalic vein and basilic vein. Basilic vein in medial side and cephalic vein in lateral side. These veins ascend upward and in the cubital fossa they connect with each other by antecubital vein. Basilic vein ascends upward and in axillary region it is named as axillary vein, and the cephalic vein ascends laterally and pierces clavipectoral fascia and then it also drains into the axillary vein. Axillary vein then collects tributary of this region and become subclavian vein. This subclavian vein then take blood from the external jugular vein and join with internal jugular vein to form brachiocephalic vein, and then brachiocephalic vein of both sides join together to form superior vena cava. Then superior vena cava drain into the right atrium of heart. Let's talk about the venous drainage of lower limb. In lower limb from foot, the blood take by short saphenous vein in posterior portion and goes to the popliteal fossa, and medially there is great saphenous vein. This great saphenous vein drain into the femoral vein. There are also some deep veins that usually corresponds with the arteries of the lower limb, and from the popliteal vein the blood ultimately drain to the femoral vein, and from femoral vein blood drain to the external iliac vein. So let's go to that system. So external iliac artery then joins with the internal iliac artery and make common iliac artery. Common iliac arteries of both sides joins at the level of L5 vertebra and make inferior vena cava. This inferior vena cava then ascends upwards and take some branches. We'll talk about later about this system. Now we'll see how the blood comes to the inferior vena cava from the intestine and portal system. From rectum, sigmoid colon, descending colon, and lateral two-third or distal two-third of the transverse colon is collected from these area by the inferior mesenteric vein, and from the rest of the transverse colon, ascending colon, and cecum, ileum, jejunum, up to the second part of the duodenum, that is distal to the major duodenal papilla. This area, from this area, blood is collected by the superior mesenteric artery. Then the spleen and the greater curvature of stomach, this area is collected by the splenic vein. The splenic vein collects blood from inferior mesenteric vein behind the neck of the pancreas, and the splenic vein joins with the superior mesenteric vein and forms a portal vein, and the laser curvature of the stomach and lower part of the esophagus is drained to the portal vein via left gastric vein. Then this portal vein goes to the hilum of the liver, and it's give all this blood to the liver, and from here these bloods goes to the inferior vena cava via 3 hepatic vein. So we'll see these 3 hepatic vein now. So I told it previously, at the level of lumbar 5, the 2 common iliac veins unite to form inferior vena cava at the level of L5 vertebrae, and then it takes third and fourth lumbar veins of both sides, and right gonadal vein, right suprarenal vein, right renal vein, and 3 hepatic vein and inferior phrenic veins of both sides. Here I can mention that left gonadal and left suprarenal vein drain into left renal vein, then left renal vein will drain into the inferior vena cava. Then the inferior vena cava pierces the diaphragm at the level of thoracic 8 and directly drain into the right atrium. By this we finish most of the venous drainage of our body. Now we can talk about azygous venous system. So let's talk about azygous venous system. Azygous vein is formed by the union of right ascending lumbar vein, right first and second lumbar vein, and subcostal vein. Then it fires the diaphragm and ascends, and it collects tributary from the lower 8, that is 4th to 11th posterior intercostal vein, and it also collects right superior intercostal vein, which is formed by the union of first, second and third intercostal vein. And on left side similarly there is hemiazygous and accessory hemiazygous vein. Hemiazygous vein is formed by the left ascending lumbar vein, upper 2 lumbar vein, and subcostal vein, and then it pierces diaphragm and ascends upward and take lower 4, that is from 8 to 11th posterior intercostal vein, and then it drains into the azygous vein. The 4th to 7th intercostal vein makes accessory hemiazygous vein, and it also drains into the azygous vein at the level of T4, and the upper three, that is 1, 2 and 3 left intercostal vein make left superior intercostal vein. These vein drain into the left brachiocephalic vein. This is the azygous venous system, and the azygous vein drain into the superior vena cava, and the blood ultimately goes to the superior vena cava and then to the right atrium of heart. Now comes to the venous drainage of a heart. So in the anterior interventricular groove there is great cardiac vein. In the posterior interventricular groove there is middle cardiac vein, and the groove between right atrium and ventricle there is at right atrioventricular groove. In this groove there is a small cardiac vein. These all cardiac veins are joined to form coronary sinus. Then coronary sinus directly drain to the right atrium, and there is another vein is called anterior cardiac vein. This vein directly drain into the right atrium. So by this we finished the venous drainage of whole body. It is almost same like as arterial system with some exception. I try to cover all this thing very grossly, and thank you and wish you all the best.